Alright guys, so this is the hard swim bait board, and just a few of my swim baits that I have now, and it's always interchanging, so I of course buy and trade baits. So that's one thing you'll see next time. It might look a little different, but obviously with me being sponsored with the Doobie Swim Baits, shout out to John and Rebecca, I've got quite the Doobie collection here, so it'll probably be a Doobie showcase as well. But let's get into some of the baits. All right, so first off, let's talk about the Banderula brand. And if you're not familiar, I definitely say go to Instagram, look up banderula.designs, and you will see all of the huge BY bass that have been caught on these baits. So what got me into these baits is obviously seeing the Instagram, and somehow I was reached out by my friend. He's actually called the Red Shadow. He is a guide on Lake Biwa. Decided to make some baits and put them out publicly, but he's been making his own baits for about 30 years. So that means he's not been swimming any other brand baits for 30 years, and that's fishing on Lake Biwa. So yeah, these baits are ridiculous. I can't really put just the detail of these baits. So they're wood, so what you'll see is all of them are actually made out of wood, and I've got two individual styles. You got the B1 Hover, of course the B1 Baby, and of course we got the G10. So just to give you a little bit of detail, I actually caught a 10-pound 5-ounce fish on the Baby B1, and this is my biggest swim bait fish that I've caught. It's been on this particular bait. That's a 10-pounder. So yeah, I mean, you know, part of me wants to retire it. Part of me wants to put it back in the streets, you know what I mean? And just to see what we catch. Obviously, we've got super cool color here. This one's actually called Mantis. You can see it's got the red eyes, which is pretty neat. Really cool colorway of the Banderula B1 Hover. I've caught, I think, a 6-pounder on that one. So definitely cool to see it. I like to fish it at night. This is one pretty tame color, kind of a silverish gray. It's got some chartreuse hits. Haven't fished with that one yet, so look forward to it. This was the first one that I actually got, and I put it through the ropes. I actually broke the fins off of here, but I really worked this bait. This was really the tester that I had originally, and caught a lot of big fish. You'll see this one was actually featured on the Homeless Fisherman's video that he had. I got a cast to catch. I think it ended up being a 6-pounder on this bait, which is really neat. If you go to the Homeless Fisherman's page, you'll see it on there. Of course, you got the G10s, and I haven't caught any huge fish with these. I've caught a 6.5-pounder on this particular G10, but it's a pure glide bait. Got two different styles. One of them is more of a cover glide. These are more of an open water glide. And you can see just the natural color of the wood on this particular bait. And I haven't had the courage to put this one in the water yet, but soon. It will happen soon. And then of course you got the Hasu colorway, and just the details and the colors in these baits. Just ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, those are the Bandarula family class of baits. So next we'll go to some baits that are near and dear to my heart. Shout out to my homeboy, Big John at John John's Outdoors. And we've been testing his baits out now for probably around 2 years. And he's really improved to where you've got the final products that, I mean, really swim flawlessly. So if you see these in the water, man, you can go at lots of different speeds, fast or slow, and they're very, very natural. Got a really nice plop sound that I really like. And I've caught some really nice fish. So I'm hoping to catch some huge fish on these crawlers here coming up. I think the biggest fish I've caught right now is probably a 6.5 on the crawlers, but you'll see at some point me catching a huge bass with these. This was my favorite, which is basically it's a wet rat. And then we got the drowning monk. This one's actually the drowning monk. This one, of course, is the wet rat. You've got the little D crawler, which is also in the drowning monk colorway. And you can just see the details. They did a great job with the fur. And of course, we got the Swimbait crawler, which is really neat as well. But I usually keep those tied on. And these are super fun to toss around. The fish absolutely try and hammer them. They don't play around with these guys. They try and murder these baits. Like some of the most violent topwater attacks I've seen from bass come from me fishing these John John's Outdoors crawlers. So shout out to John John. Go get you one or two or three. Yeah, so probably the smallest bait in my arsenal here. FOF Pipsqueak, and caught a fish on this one. I don't fish it a whole bunch, but I think it was a cool bait to have. Just a little tiny BFS swim bait, and I'm not hugely in the BFS stuff, but I had to get this once I saw it. So pretty dope bait. And of course you got my picture of the 12-pounder that I caught. Got my son who caught his PB 7-pounder, of course. Got some swim bait accessories, extra hooks, extra tails for the Bandarula, of course. We've got the Working Class Zero Citizen 7, cokehead colorway, and of course I like to use the Beast flashy swimmers with most of them that I fish. I don't always use that combination, but I do really like it. Got that Issei gill flat swimmer. Caught some nice fish on that particular bait too, so I'll show you some more details, swim baits, softer swim baits, here in just a bit as well. Got some spare rat tails for all my rat baits. Got some hook tracers, gotta have those. Of course, that Working Class Citizen, extra hooks, extra DRT Vario knobs. Shout out to my boy John John's. I think this is a custom made crankbait as well. Super detailed. As you can see, I think that's a pour that he sent me. But yeah. I actually got a painted blank DRT Tiny Clash. I've not fished that a whole bunch, but I think that's one my boy John John's Outdoors sent me just to kind of show off some of his paint that he's doing. This was actually my first ever swim bait. I think that's the Bass Pro Shops XPS, basically the River to Sea S-Waver knockoff, and I've caught a couple fish on that, but that was really kind of got me confidence in throwing bigger baits, was that right there. So shout out Bass Pro Shops. All right, we got the Golden Belt Customs. This one's called the One. I love the big eye. Of course, love the detail in the eye. It's just a great, simple shad colorway. Very responsive in the water. I haven't caught a fish on this one yet, but I need to toss it around a little bit more. I just pretty much got it. But I love the way it looks. I think that's a 7-inch bait, if I'm not mistaken. Shout out to Golden Belt Customs. Got the Hallelujah lures. I think this one's called the 5150. And extra slow sink glide bait. Love the way this moves in the water. Extra slow sink, so it'll stay higher in the water column. But just a super smooth bait once you actually see it in the water. Love that bait. Hopefully catch a big on it soon. All right, got the Depths Bull Shooter. I think this one's the 160. And in the gill colorway, obviously. This is one of my favorite gill glide baits. I don't have many, but I've had a few of them. I love that Depths usually puts the built-in tracer on the paint job, so gotta love that. Gotta love that. And hopefully catch some bigs on this bait at some point. I don't fish it a whole bunch, but I need to put it in the water. And of course, I think this is my second swim bait that I actually got, Storm Arashi. Obviously don't swim it a whole bunch right now, but you know, still has some sentimental value as it being like one of my first or second swim baits that I ever tossed around. This thing unfortunately falls like a rock in the water, so it's really hard to fish. That's what I learned. But shout out to Ashton Milan. Got this Mike Buca's bull shad, and I got this one from Ashton Milan. He said it was super tuned by himself. I'm gonna toss this around in the water at some point. It's that bone colorway. I think that's the really bone color that you really want. Uh-oh. Of course, I tear stuff up here. But yeah, it's supposed to be super tuned by my boy Ashton Milan. And I look forward to tossing that one around. He's got a cast to catch video, I think, probably on his Instagram with this same bait. So it'll be neat. So this is actually a prototype. I won't say a whole bunch about that, but we'll talk about it more at some point. Mag Draft, not sure why it's up here, but I just didn't have anywhere to store it. You'll find out storing swim baits is tough. This is actually the Depths Evoke Zero. So it's basically like a swim bait size whopper plopper. Super cool sound. You know, people say, hey, you don't really like throwing traditional stuff. You got swim bait size whopper plopper. Put in the water. How dope is that? This is the Ducky Shad. That was like my third swim bait that I ever got. Kind of a Mike Buca knockoff. I haven't tossed it around, but it actually has a magnetic hook keeper there on the front. But you know, kind of one of those things where it's a cheaper option at the time when I wanted to get into swim bait fishing. This was one of my first swim baits that I got. Of course, we got the PB Rat with the elude tail, and I've caught 2 significant fish on this PB Rat. One was an 8-pound, 6-ounce largemouth bass. Brand new caddy. And I think I caught like a 4-pounder, maybe a 5-pounder that ended up in Scales and Tails magazine. So that PB Rat has been putting that to work, catching some pretty nice fish. All right, guys, so let's roll into the doobie section. So, of course, we got the micro C3s. These are, of course, the custom-made baits by Doobie Swimbaits. We've got the Purple Haze edition, of course, and I've got a shad colorway, which is pretty neat. Got a black and blue crawl kind of colorway, which I really like. Anything black and blue I'm really fond of. Of course, we've got the Doobie Disciples. I usually had a couple more of these and ended up actually losing them to the water, unfortunately. So, but I love these. These are actually swimmers, slow sink. You can see, of course, gotta have the Purple Haze colorway and everything that Doobie makes. So, of course, we've got it in pretty much all 3 of their baits. Just wait. Of course, I got the C3s. You'll see I have the most of these. I got a blank that I've yet to get painted. I got some plans for that blank to get custom made, custom sprayed, so we can get custom bit, you know what I'm talking about? And of course, we got this one that I got foiled and painted by Donald Sanders. Shout out to DS Swimbaits. Of course, he does a great job, and he did a great job with this Swimbait. I wish you could really see the details on his paint job, but he did a great job. And I'll probably do some work with him with some of the other baits. This one is probably one of my favorite doobies, tilapia colorway. And as you can see, they outdid themselves with that paint job. Just looks so good. And you know, this was one of my favorite C3s right now. Apollo's C3, I should say. Not fish with that one just because I love it so much. Look at that, how beautiful it is. Kind of a showpiece, but at some point it will hit the water. They know how much I love purple, so I got this one-off purple aqua. I'm gonna call it hazy purple colorway of the Apollo C3. At some point that one's gonna see the water. Got another solid purple colorway of the C3, developing a kind of a concept there, as you can see with the purple baits. Got the snakehead with the carbon fiber bill. So that one's definitely different. Gotta love it. Haven't seen the water with this one, but at some point I will. I love that snakehead concept. This, of course, is the bluegill with the red eyes. This is the first Apollo C3 that I got. If you go through my YouTube, you'll see me catch lots of fish on this particular bait. It was the first one that I got from the Doobie crew, but caught some sizable bass with that one. And of course, we've got another matte bluegill colorway, which is pretty neat. Haven't fished with it yet, but one of my favorite ones as well. And then of course, we've got the purple haze Doobie swim bait. This particular bait I caught a 9-pounder on.
Brand new caddy.
And this was my collab colorway with the Doobies. And this was the very first colorway that I got. You can see a little bit difference between the newer version of it, which is a little more fuchsia, a little more color change. And then I think that was the second version that I got. So we got a couple different color versions of that, but y'all know what it is. And I got a big swim bait video with this, so you can go and watch it. I think it's got over 1,500 views of the Doobie swim bait. So yeah, guys, that's it. I didn't want to make this video as long as it probably will end up being, but for those who stay with me, I appreciate you. And we'll see in the future what swim baits I end up adding later.